Dirt on my chin?
And we're live, Brews and Bets. This is a Thursday edition.
You prick.
CG. Come on, I had to. If I don't get you to call me a prick at least once a show, I don't think we're doing the people right. So
well done.
So CG, how we doing? How's it going?
I'd be doing a lot better if Ricky Simone would have won last Saturday, but all things considered, I'm doing okay, and I like this card.
Okay, all right. Tyler, you guys may not recognize him. Looks a little different this week. How we doing?
I'm doing good. I'm afraid CG kind of hates me after our back and forth text after the fights.
Yeah, I'm very sure he hates you. But,
I'm getting trolled from every angle from these two.
Listen, no, you're really not getting trolled from me, at least on fights. You're just getting trolled.
You know what? All things considered, the bets that I gave out on the Quan Edge win 8-1, hit 5 underdogs.
Yeah, that's all that matters. I had one of my worst betting weeks, DFS weeks. Got knocked out of the CG, did you move on the championship?
I made the Sweet 16, yeah.
Nice, congrats. Yeah, I got knocked out, and I actually got knocked out with like the lowest score in the round of 32. It was embarrassing. So let's get it right into this this card. This is UFC on ESPN 4, right? So this will be on the regular ESPN. In a few weeks, ESPN 5 is the one that's going to be at Newark. That'll be UFC Newark. I'll be covering that. Hopefully cage side. Sometimes they mess around with seating, but hopefully cage side for that. I'll take this first fight. Domingo Pilarte.
Wait! Before you go, did you see the Latifi fight got moved?
No, I didn't.
I guess they were having visa issues with one of the fighters, and it got moved off the Newark card.
Well, doesn't what's his name always have visa issues?
Yeah,
I can't think of his name, but he always is the one, right? I can see his face and I can't picture his name.
Ozdemir.
Ozdemir, there you go. Yeah. So Ozdemir is the one that usually has the visa issues. That's why originally it was over in Sweden or something, right?
Yeah. So one of them had visa issues. I don't know. I just seen Brett Okamoto tweet it out, and it got moved to the next week in Argentina. So.
All right. So we lost one already.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the good thing is we didn't lose Domingo Pilarte. He's been off for a while. He's fighting Felipe Colares here. I do like Pilarte to win this fight. I don't love the price, minus 340. I actually, when I looked at it, it wasn't that high. Let me just see the price. It opened at minus 275. Yeah, you see, it was like 170 at one point last week. And then, yeah, I guess it was in the 200s. I saw it at like 220, but it really got steamed to minus 332 over the last few days. But I thought we were going to get a better price at this. Maybe I would have thought about it at minus 200, but minus 340 is a little bit too much. Pilarte is really tall for the division. This fight's at 135. Pilarte is going to have a size advantage in terms of his length and his height. And I think he's going to be able to pick him apart from distance. And I think inside he's a decent enough wrestler, grappler. And I think he submitted Vince Morales, right? Morales is the one on Contender Series. On Contender Series, Morales was able to piece him up early in that fight. And then later on, I think it was this middle of the second round. I think we talked about this last week with Morales. In the second round, Pilarte really came on and was able to submit him on the ground. So, TG, what do you think about this one here?
So I want to preface my statement here before everybody on Twitter starts to freak out. I'm not comparing Pilarte to Conor McGregor, but his fight style kind of reminds me of Conor a little bit. Let's call him a poor man's, big-time poor man's version of Conor. Just because he's a southpaw, he's got a wide stance, keeps his hands low. He's awesome with that left uppercut, too. So I like the way the guy fights, but Pilarte was laid out in his fight against Vince Morales. But he's a 6-foot-tall bantamweight, 74-inch reach, 8 wins, 2 by KO, 4 by submission. He's fighting in Texas, where he's from. And I was impressed with that win over Vince Morales, as we know from last weekend. You know, Vince Morales is a tough guy, and let's be honest, he probably realistically beat Benito Lopez in that fight. I just like Felipe Pilarte's skill set. I'm sorry, Don Pilarte's skill set. What am I saying? So Felipe Colares, he's the guy that fought once. He lost to De Freitas in his first fight. Didn't really impress me at all. I don't think he's going to offer much in this fight at all. I think Pilarte can win wherever it goes. And yeah, look at Pilarte's metrics: 5 strikes per minute, over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, good everywhere. Yeah, should win the fight wherever it goes. I like Don Pilarte a lot.
All right, Tyler, what do you think? Is this are you on Pilarte? Is it worth a bet?
Yeah, I actually don't even mind this at minus 340 right now. Pilarte is the better fighter everywhere. Kolares needs to get this to the ground, and he's just not really a good wrestler. He lands 37% takedowns. He's a high volume wrestler, but he's going to get picked apart at range. He has terrible striking defense. I think this one's going to be over pretty quick.
The
First
inside
round?
the distance line isn't that bad either for Pilarte, wasn't it? It was at plus odds last I saw. Let's check this out real quick. So Pilarte wins inside the distance plus 140.
Yeah, I like that one a lot because I think that Kolares' only way to win this fight is to grind out a decision wrestling, and I just don't think he's going to get it there. And Pilarte is just going to hit him at will. Kolares has really bad striking offense or defense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I actually, now that you say that, I don't. I mean, that's why I think he's going to win. I don't know about the finish, but I do think he's going to win. So I think it could finish inside the distance.
I think that he's probably. I think he's probably going to be the highest score on DraftKings for what it's worth.
He's got a 75% finish rate, and just finished Vince Morales, who went the distance with Yudong Song. So that says something, right?
Maybe I'm being too conservative. I like Pilarte, but you guys are really on him. Interested to see what you think about this next fight because I'm kind of up in the air right now. Jinsu Song is minus 190 and Mario Batista is plus 165. So why don't I throw it right back to you? What do you think here?
Yeah. So with this fight, and I think that Son is a lot better of a fighter. I'm not really impressed by Batista. I think that he's going to be able to pretty much do what he wants in this fight, keep this fight standing. Batista just has terrible striking defense, and I think the Son is just going to take advantage of that. And I think that he might finish the fight also. I haven't really seen the lines for it, but I think that minus 190, that's a good enough play. I'm actually gonna be betting that he could finish, but right now you're minus 180 that the fight goes to decision. I'm just gonna stick with him at minus 190. I think that's a good enough play.
It's actually Son wins inside distance is plus 200 if you do like it that much.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this early in the night, I'm not gonna risk it. Just personal preference.
Well, listen, if we need a risk taker here, we got CG right here. So CG, is this guy in your parlay? What do you think?
No, I'm pretty uncertain about this fight just because we have such a small sample size of Mario Bautista. Lost in the first round, but to Corey Sandhagen, who's an absolute stud. Although I do love Jinsu Son. So look at Batista. I mean, he was undefeated before the Sandhagen fight. He has a strong finishing percentage. He has the size advantage over Son, 3 inches taller, 3 inches reach. But look at Son's fight against Petr Yan. He threw 226 strikes at Yan, only landed 63 of them, but still, it's a testament to his output. The guy's got good cardio. He's training with the Korean Zombie, who has some of the best striking techniques and feints in all of MMA. So, it's tough. I do like Jinsu Son. I slightly favor him in this fight, but with that being said, we have such a small sample size of Batista. I'm going to err on the side of caution in this fight. So I like Son, but I'm not confident in this pick.
Yeah, I'm not confident in my pick, and I'm not confident in a bet at all. I'll pick Son, but I'm not very confident at all. And I think this actually goes the distance, in my opinion. I think Batista's he's tough enough to get this to the distance, in my opinion. But
hey, real quick, I was looking at the text message. I'm not the one that had to take a shit. I thought you had to take a shit because you just ate 3 Coney dogs before the show. You're playing with fire there, buddy. Hey, guys, if Steve walks away, we know what he's doing.
Chris Gray.
Playing with fire.
Payback is something else, buddy. Payback is something else. That's the lowest point for the Brews Bets podcast that I can remember. So let's get right into this next fight, CG. Ray Borg and Gabriel Silva. Silva is Eric Silva's brother, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Eric Silva's brother against Ray Borg, who had a very difficult outing last time out. That was at UFC Philadelphia. I was at that fight. A lot of people bet the other way. I can't remember the guy that he fought last time. But
Casey Kenny, right?
Casey Kenny, who I'm looking for him to fight again. I thought he was pretty good in that fight. Ray Borg was a big favorite, but it seemed like a lot of people were on Kenny and DraftKings. It kind of became a very popular play, if I remember correctly. And Ray Borg, I actually thought at ringside, I thought he won the fight, to be honest with you. He had a ton of takedowns. I think the difference in the fight, though, was Kenny outstruck him and was able to do more damage on the feet. And he was pretty good scramble. But Ray Borg, he kind of got off to a slow start and then tried to turn it on and it just wasn't enough. Missed weight, I believe, by a few pounds. I don't think it was relatively close. I'm going to stay away from it because I just don't know who Ray Borg is as a fighter right now. You would think that last time out he was very motivated for this fight, for his fight, helping. I know his son was sick. He was the one in had to miss a fight because of the Conor McGregor thing. I don't know if they settled the lawsuit or not with that. But CG, what do you think? Ray Borg at -210, Silva at +175.
Yeah, I don't like it. There's too much uncertainty. And I'm with you. I actually thought Ray Borg won that fight too. He had 7 takedowns against Kenny, but the thing is he didn't do anything with it. I think Casey Kenny had 4 advances. Borg had 3. Kenny had 32 strikes to Borg 17. So it was one of those fights. I mean, it's tough to assume you're going to win a fight just because you're taking your opponent to the ground and not really doing anything with it. And that's what I'm concerned about in this fight too. Borg might get another 6 or 7 takedowns, but if he doesn't do anything with it, if Silva keeps on getting back to his feet and winning the striking exchanges, then, I just -210, no thanks. I'm going to pass. A lot of people are on Silva. The guy's 7-0. Apparently, he's pretty explosive. I saw some clips on him. But then again, he's going against Ray Borg, a guy that, 2 fights ago was fighting for the championship. So Borg probably wins the fight. He has the, edge and experience, and he's probably the better wrestler. But just due to the overall lack of activity and lack of finishing prowess, it's dog or pass.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And again, there's a significant reach advantage here, Ty. We got an 8-inch reach advantage for Silva, 2-inch height advantage. I think this is going to be a grappling heavy fight myself, which is why I think it actually favors Borg a little bit more than maybe I let on to begin with. But Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, so I think this line opened up around +230 for Silva, which I thought was way off. And I actually think Silva's the better fighter in every aspect of the fight. I think that he's going to be able to use his wrestling to take Borg down, or he could pick him apart standing. I'm pretty going pretty heavy on Silva here. I think that he should actually be the favorite.
Are you going heavy on DK, or are you actually betting this?
Both.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to actually do both because I mean he's one of the cheapest guys on DraftKings. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a knockout or a submission on Borg.
A lot of people are on Silva.
Yeah, when I was looking at this fight, because Silva's last fight was in LFA and he scored a quick knockout over a guy that was also 7-0, and Silva, he's a good striker, but his strength is wrestling. And Borg has terrible takedown defense. I know he's good in scrambles, but his takedown defense is only like 30-something%.
Yeah, 30%.
Yeah, and so I actually wouldn't be surprised if Silva used his reach advantage to pick him apart on the feet, or if he wanted to take this down. I don't think that he's going to have a problem there. And personally, I think that he should be the favorite. I think that Borg's popularity and his name value is what's causing the odds to be so widespread.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all.
6,900 on DraftKings, by the way. 6,900.
Yeah, I'm actually I have him in my DK lineup. I didn't realize he was so popular. I really haven't listened to much this week.
So I did my projections for the Quant Edge last night, and I think I actually made him a cash game play.
Yeah,
which,
I mean
one of the lowest price underdogs that I think I've ever recommended for a cash play.
Well, I personally, I'm a cash guy, and he's in my cash lineup right now. So I feel like I was on him. I didn't realize so many people were on him, but from what you guys are saying, I guess everyone's thinking the same thing.
That's pretty safe because Borg hasn't finished anybody since February of 2015.
Yeah. And again, if Tyler thinks he's the better fighter all around, which I don't necessarily know how good his striking is, to be honest with you. I couldn't really tell, but Borg did kind of get pieced up by Kenny last time out. So
His striking is pretty good, but he's a wrestler. And
okay. Yeah, that's why I think he's more of a grappler, right?
Yeah, on DraftKings, I know he trains with the Nogueira brothers. On DraftKings, even if he scores a few takedowns versus Borg's 30%, I mean, he's going to pay for himself in price.
So, Ty, I want to throw this one right back to you, only because you were a big Monteferi fan last time out, right, against Valentina's sister. She was able to take her down, get top control, and win the fight. And she's been able to do that for her last few fights, right? Kind of getting some top control. I know she had the loss over at the Garden to Jersey Girl. I can't think of anyone's name right now. Who's the girl I'm thinking of? Jersey Girl who just went up and lost to Aspen Ladd.
Oh,
beat
Eubanks.
Eubanks. So Eubanks actually was able to get a decent top control against Monteferi. There was just a significant strength disadvantage for Monteferi in that fight. But anytime she's kind of close in strength, and I think she's close here, she's able to get top control and really, ground and pound and do some damage, kind of make girls turn their back to her. And she's awkward. She's, kind of like a rock'em sock'em robot when she walks forward every once in a while. She's not very athletic with her kicks, with her strikes, with anything, but she's effective, and she's been able to win some fights recently. I think she's found a niche at 125 pounds. And again, Ty, this is a rematch, but Monteferi at plus 120, I don't mind a bet on her at all. So what are you thinking here?
Yeah, so I'm exactly the opposite on this. The last time they fought, the thing that was pretty glaring was that Maya was the stronger of the two. That kind of goes against Monteferi's game. I think that neither one of them have really gotten much better. I think it's pretty much going to be essentially the same fight, and Maya's going to win a decision. I think last time they fought, it was a 5-round fight. This time it's a 3-round. I'm not really sure who that favors, but I think that Maya's going to win a decision again. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit less close than last time.
When was that last fight? How long ago?
I can look that up.
Yeah.
That was about 4 fights ago. So,
Yeah, I mean, that being said, I'm going to be rooting for Roxanne, but I just think that Maya has the tools to beat her. She's going to be the stronger of the two. It was...
Yeah, it's not showing on Fight Market.
It was pretty far back, I think.
Yeah, it must have been.
I don't know. I think that the one thing I would say about Monteferi, I think she's been better.
It was in Invicta 2016.
Yeah, I think she's been better since the Tough Show, personally, but that's just my opinion from what I've seen in her more recent fights. Where I thought that I didn't think she would win the last 2 fights, and I know Eubanks got the best of her, but I was impressed against Valentina's sister. But CG, what do you think here?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, Steve. I like Monteferi. I know Maya already beat her, but I think Roxanne has been getting better ever since the Tough House, just like you mentioned. Monteferi has better striking output, lands almost 2 takedowns per fight, and Maya has 33% takedown defense. Monteferi will also have a 5-inch reach in this fight. And I just think if Monteferi has a takedown-based game plan, then she can squeak out a decision. Maya has been taken down twice by Alexis Davis and 3 times by Liz Carmouche. So, yeah, she was taken down in both of her UFC fights. So it's there for the taking, and hopefully Monteferi can execute. I like Roxanne as a dog. In DraftKings, and I've already placed a bet. She's in one of my parlays. One of my many parlays.
The only thing with Roxanne is her wrestling is not that great. But if you look at the last time they faced off, Maya was minus 210, and this fight she's minus 140. And
I think a lot of that has to do with Monteferi's recent success, personally.
Yeah, but I mean, since officially on her record, she's 4-3 since losing to Maya.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, granted, she did win twice on the show, so she went 2-1 on the show. So she's what, 6-4?
6-4, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the recency of her beating Shevchenko, I think that kind of plays into the odds going up. But Maya should win this fight.
All right. CG, Ryan DeRose said you're his guy
Thank you, Ryan.
in the group chat. Do you know him? I don't know.
Ryan DeRose?
Ryan DeRose.
Right. No, I do not. No,
Yeah,
not that I know of.
I don't know Ryan, but if he follows us on Twitter, obviously we can strike up.
Cheers, Ryan.
Let's get to this next fight. I'm debating a bet on Klidz to the Brew. I haven't been a fan of Sam Alvey in his more recent fights. I think that Sam, he likes to play that counter punch, try to finish the fight with that big left hand. But if you don't charge forward on him, I just don't know how he really gets that off. Charge forward and lead and leave yourself on the center line. I don't know how he's going to be able to get that off and finish. He's such a low volume striker that he's going to lose a decision most likely. And I think that Klidson or Brew can use some leg kicks and maybe push him up against the cage. I know Alvey has decent takedown defense from what I remember in his last few fights. But a Brew, I believe he's pretty good on the ground. So if he can get Alvey down there, I think that a Brew may be able to even finish him with a submission. But I think he's going to want to get it down, just stay away from that left hand. And if he can do that, I think he can even work himself into a decision, keeping distance and using his kick. So I'm on a Brew. I haven't bet it yet, although at this point I'm looking for somebody to parlay with Pilarte. Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, so this fight kind of scares me. Initially, I was with you on Abreu, but then I noticed that his main skill is jiu-jitsu, but he has a willingness to trade with people, and he swings really wild, and that kind of plays into Sam Alvey's game. And I don't know if he chooses to do that with Alvey, I think he could get clipped at some point. So initially, I was on Abreu, but now I'm a little bit hesitant. I think Sam Alvey is a good play on DraftKings for a lower price guy and GPPs, not for cash. Because if he wins, it's going to be by knockout. I think Abreu might have a tough time getting this to the ground. And if he wants to trade with Alvey, that could be a mistake.
All right, CG, what do you think here? Any bets?
I'm so intrigued by this fight. Yes, there have been some bets placed. So Smiling Sam is coming off 2 consecutive knockout losses, which concerns the shit out of me. But and obviously it's a big if his chin isn't completely shot, I like his chances in this fight. So like I said, I've been dissecting the crap out of it. So on paper, Abreu looks like a killer. He's 14-3. All 14 wins come by finish. 13 of them have come within rounds 1 or 2. 10 wins by submission. But in 45 fights, Sam Alvey has only been subbed once by Gerald Meerschaert back in 2010. Sam has 84% takedown defense and only gets taken down by top quality grapplers like Rashad Evans, Nate Marquardt, Ramazan Ameev, Talis Latis. So if Abreu can't get this fight to the ground, he doesn't want to stand and trade with Alvey, like Ty said. So what are his options? See, that's what people don't realize about Sam Alvey. He's such a gump. He's the most unathletic fighter at 205. The guy probably could not dunk on an 8-foot basketball net. He would run a 40-yard dash in 7 seconds. I mean, but he's got good takedown defense. It doesn't even make sense. So if Alvey can turn this into a dogfight, I think he has a path to victory. What's Abreu going to do if he can't get the fight to the ground? And another thing is Abreu starts to fade as the fight goes on. Like I mentioned, 13 of his 14 wins in rounds 1 or 2. Once the fight goes to round 3, he was knocked out twice in round 3. Then he lost his other fight via decision. But this guy's already been knocked out twice. If he can't get the fight to the ground, I think he's going to get reckless. Let's go Smiling Sam at dog odds.
It's not a bad GPP play, too.
But you're right, though, man. He's very, very low volume. So I think when he beat Rashad Evans, I want to say he put up 50 points. So he's feast or famine, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't play him in a cash game in DraftKings, but and if I bet anybody here, it would be Abreu. I don't trust Sam Alvey. I understand what you guys are saying, but I just don't trust Sam Alvey.
I think in GPPs, Alvey's going to be a popular low price play.
Yeah, because if he wins, obviously it's going to be by finish.
Mm-hmm.
And again, who did he finish? He finished John Vellante.
He didn't finish Vellante. He beat him by
No,
decision.
by
He
decision.
finished.
And he finished Pacquiao, right? Was the one who just walked right into a left hand and then did it again or something?
He finished Pacquiao. He finished Eric Spicely. He finished Kevin Casey. So,
Got
but
it.
at 205, he's 2-2. He has
at 205. I'm sorry. Just talking
Yeah,
about
that's what I'm thinking of right now. Yeah, but
he got finished by Nogueira and cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, he did. And remember, he actually had Nogueira hurt earlier in that fight. That was terrible. All right, let's get into this next fight. I don't know what to make of this because I feel like I can't get Irene Aldana right, and I feel like I do get Pennington right, and for some reason I just think that she's going to have a hell of a performance here. But I don't know. I can't tell. Amanda Nunes put such a beating on her. You would think that the next fight out, she would be able to rally if she had anything left. I don't know if we would call that a rally. Obviously, she lasted longer with Jermaine Durandamy than Aspen Ladd did last week. But this is a tough fight for Rocky because I think that a lot of people are kind of questioning how good she really is. She had the big win against Miesha Tate, but if you look at the other people that she's beat, she hasn't really beaten anybody at 135 that I'm overly impressed with other than Miesha Tate. And I believe that was Miesha Tate's retirement fight, right? She didn't fight after that?
Correct.
Right, so that she was done at that. So who knows where her head was at. Yeah, I mean, if I'm betting anyone, it's Pennington just because I don't trust Aldana. But if this is a striking fight, Aldana's going to outstrike her and wind up winning the fight. Obviously, Pennington is going to try to close the distance, push her up against the cage. So that would be where my money goes if it goes anywhere, but I'm staying away from this one. So, CJ, I'll throw it back to you. What do you think?
Tough fight to assess. Aldana has everything that I look for in a fighter: forward pressure, volume, and cardio. And Aldana has the striking edge. Rocky has the grappling edge, but Aldana has 95% takedown defense. And I know I come on the show and I always spit out all these metrics, and I'm big into the fight metrics, but sometimes they can be overstated. Sometimes there's a situation where a fighter was taken down 11 times in one fight and they had piss poor takedown defense for the next 5 fights, right? So you have to dig into the data a little bit. And that's what I did with Aldana. And, Bernardo tried taking her down 11 times, only executed 1 takedown. Chukagian went for 11 takedowns, didn't get 1. Betch went for 2, didn't get none. So technically Aldana is 23 for 24 in stuffing takedowns, and which is 96% takedown defense, even though fight metric for whatever reason is showing 95. And that's another reason why I have to validate all these statistics because I don't trust fight metric. But, it's legit. But then again, you look at a lot of these people that have been trying to take down Aldana, and, they're not wrestlers and grapplers. I think Pennington will probably be the best grappler that she's ever faced. But, I mean, you look at the numbers, 6.3 strikes per minute for Aldana. If she can stuff the takedowns, then I think she's going to win a striking-based decision. And you've already talked about it, Steve. I mean, Pennington was beat up badly by Nunes, and I don't know if you can really ever get over that fight. So let's go Aldana by decision. And, yes, she is in my parlays.
And again, there's a couple people this past weekend that got beat up pretty badly, and it'll be interesting to see how they rebound.
I will say, though, Aldana looked like shit against Betch. She was on her way to losing that fight before she got the armbar. Yeah,
I don't trust her, to be honest.
Yeah, I get it.
I think I just want to look at one prop here. I think it's safe to go to decision. I mean, the decision is minus 270, so I think it's safe to go there if you wanted to put that into a parlay. But, Ty, what do you think?
So this fight's kind of hard for me to call, just like you guys. From my standpoint, like I've had conversations with both these fighters, 2 of the nicest people ever, and so it's hard to lean one way or another in a close fight when you know that they're both nice people outside the cage. But I think that Pennington has the style to give Aldana problems. If you notice in Aldana's fights, in the fights that she loses that are stand-up fights, it's versus scrappy people. And Pennington has the ability to be very scrappy. Like CG was alluding to, pushing her up against the cage, turning it into a dirty fight, taking away her technical advantage. I think that Pennington could do that. And Pennington's tough also. She's going to keep coming forward. She has the cardio. They're kind of very similar in that sense that they're both fighters that come forward, have a ton of energy. The only problem is with Pennington, she's gonna come forward and make it scrappier and take Aldana out of her element. So I'm kind of leaning towards Pennington winning the fight, but I'm really not confident on it.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth too.
Yeah.
One quick note too. So Pennington took an academic scholarship to the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs for pre-med. So Rocky Pennington was going to be a doctor, and she's also banging Tisha Torres. Tough life right there.
So
Tough
you're
life.
saying she should have became a doctor?
I think so. Well, I mean, listen, being a fighter has worked out very well for her. Like I said, she's with Tisha Torres. At least she was. So,
well,
good for
Tisha,
her. Good for her.
the thing that I find weird is that Tisha Torres trains in Florida, right? And she trains in Colorado.
I thought she was going back and forth. She used to for sure, but she was going back and forth. I thought because she fought,
she trains with Rocky.
Oh, okay, she does.
Yeah, but she's still a member of the other gym. But for the most part, I think they live in Colorado.
American Top Team, right? That's where she was training.
She was training there for sure. Yeah, but then I think Ty's right. Then she went to Colorado to train because didn't she fight Nisa Ansaroff or something? She was getting ready to fight somebody else from American Top Team. So
I
think both of them go back and forth actually, because I know that Amanda Nunes is one of their best friends.
Yeah, they all hang out together.
Yeah.
All right, Ty, your boy Steven Peterson's in this next fight, so I'll throw it right back to you. He's plus 105. Bruce Leroy Caceres is minus 125. Ty, so you on your boy here?
Shit, I have no idea. I hate Alex Caceres. That's one guy that I just get his fights wrong every single time. I think Peterson's gonna put it on him, but that being said, Caceres is probably gonna take him to the ground and make this an ugly fight.
Caceres makes it tough to get his fights wrong all the time. He's 14-12.
Yeah, dude, I despise that guy so much. I really don't know how he's in the UFC. And then I think that, all right, this is the fight he's going to be cut, and then he wins. And
he's been in the UFC forever, right? Like 10, 12 years or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like him on the show, on the Ultimate Fighter show. I don't like him now. Like, I hope Peterson comes out and starches him, but I'm expecting Caceres to win and be my demise of the week.
Yeah, Peterson is tough, but I think he's tough to his own demise in a lot of cases. He takes a lot of damage. He just marches forward. I'll tell you what, this is going to be a fun fight. If you like MMA, this will be a fun fight. These guys are going to get after each other. But CG, what do you think here? Caceres is the favorite at minus 125. Worth money.
I want to apologize in advance because I get excited when there's fighters that I liked. I've never respected a fighter more with a 1-2 UFC record. Peterson will be fighting in Texas where he lives, and this guy is one tough son of a bitch, man. And Peterson is statistically better everywhere, better striking volume at 4.4 strikes per minute, more takedown upside at 2.3 takedowns per fight, and Caceres is 59% takedown defense. So I bet Peterson, and I feel comfortable with it. Obviously, he could lose the fight, right? Nothing's gospel here, but I won't have to worry about Peterson laying an egg. Is there anything worse than betting on a guy that just comes and lays an egg? He's afraid to commit. He's afraid to engage. And you lose money because the fighter that you bet on decides to be a huge pussy. You don't have to worry about that with Steven Peterson. This guy will come and he will fight his ass off. And honestly, I don't think Caceres is a very good fighter. I know he has a win over Sergio Pettis. Everybody always feels the need to mention that, but that's when Sergio was very young in his career. Peterson never stops coming at you. He lost to Luis Pena in his last fight, but Pena is a very skilled fighter. Pena is better than Alex Caceres, and they're kind of similar because, they're both, Caceres and Pena are both longer, rangier, they're southpaws, and Peterson lost that fight to Pena, but he took Pena down a couple times, and, like you said, he might be too tough for his own good, but whatever. He's fighting Alex Caceres, and he's a good chance to win this fight, so let's go Peterson. Peterson is my guy.
You think it finishes?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But I think he can definitely win a decision, and he's definitely going to, if he does win, he will get you at least 10x value in DraftKings. And notice his line keeps on getting better and better. I think he started plus 150. Now he's close to plus 120, or where is it now?
He's plus 105.
Plus 105. Yeah, holy shit. Okay. Yeah, plus one. Yeah, depending on the site. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a line that could flip. I mean, very easily.
I think that's because everybody hates Alex Caceres.
Probably. I mean, he knows how to lose in the UFC, right? He's got 12 UFC losses. So
I got Peterson at plus 150. I'm happy about that line.
All right, so Ty, why don't you open up this next fight? Andrei Arlovsky and Ben Rothwell. I have no idea what to think about this fight, to be honest with you. And I feel like I've said that about a few of these fights. I just don't really have a good feel for it. I did think Ben Rothwell won his last fight against Ivanov. I thought he wound up winning that fight 2 rounds to 1. But again, what does he do? He just marches forward, throws punches, puts a lot of pressure on you. What is Arlovsky going to do? Is he gonna plant his back foot and fire that right hand? With pillows on, he doesn't seem to hurt anybody. So what's going to happen here, Ty? Rothwell right now is minus 185.
Yeah, I actually think this could go very similar to Rothwell's last fight. Like you said, he's pretty much a bull. He's going to come forward. Arlovsky could work his counters. Personally, I'm just staying away from betting on this fight. I have no idea what these guys are at this point in their career. I want to say Rothwell's the better fighter. I don't really think this is going to go to the ground unless Rothwell can clinch him and they fall. Personally, I'm just not excited for this fight. I don't really care about these two guys fighting.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably that's how I should have introduced this fight. I really don't care about this fight. But CG, I'm sure you bet on it. So what do you think?
There's a chance that I may have bet on this fight, Steve. There's a chance. So I'm with you, and I need to bring this up real quick. I thought Rothwell won that fight, so I think Ivanov outstruck him like 77-75. But somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't octagon control part of the criteria for a judge when assessing fights?
No.
Listen, Tyler,
it's not?
No.
Tyler is a judge.
So according to Big John, when I took his class, the fight should only be scored on damage.
Really?
When they wrote the rule book, they couldn't put damage in there to get it approved by commissions.
So that's funny that you say that, because the UFC will show a stat, octagon control.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's okay.
They say it's a factor because when they wrote the rule book, and this is according to Big John, who him and Herb Dean and a few other guys wrote the rule book.
Yeah, you would know.
Yeah, they were actually in charge of writing the rule book to present it to commissions to get it licensed. And he said the number one criteria that outweighs everything is damage. And you pretty much just go to octagon control when all else is pretty much equal.
So it's a tiebreaker then, okay.
It's essentially. But I mean, the fights should be scored on damage.
Because, so Ivanov landed 2 more strikes than Rothwell, but I mean, Rothwell was pressing forward the entire time, and Ivanov is backpedaling, and I don't know. I like Rothwell, and I think he has a good chance to win this fight. He has 2 paths to victory. I mean, he can knock you out, and his submission game is on point. He has that go-go choke, which he used to choke out Matt Mitrione and Josh Barnett. And Arlovsky lost 9 of his last 11 fights. I know there's that no contest to Walt Harris. And to be honest, I actually thought he beat Sakai. But still, I mean, Arlovsky, the guy needs to retire. I know he hasn't been knocked out in 2.5 years, but he hasn't knocked anybody out since, Travis Brown. And that was back in May of 2015. So he doesn't have power. I think he's just in there to collect a paycheck. It's kind of sad. I think Rothwell wins, and I think Rothwell definitely has the potential to finish. So I like Rothwell in the spot.
See, I like Rothwell too, but I don't know if I'm willing to lay the minus 185. That's my only concern with the fight.
And I get that too, because it's weird. I mean, Arlovsky went from getting finished in every fight. He was finished in 4 consecutive fights. And then he doesn't get finished in 2.5 years. It's almost like his chin came back. But still, and you look at the output, Arlovsky 3.2 strikes per minute, Rothwell, 3.1 strikes per minute. So he technically has the edge there. But I don't know. I don't see Arlovsky doing it. I like Rothwell.
Yeah, I don't like this fight much at all to bet. But whatever, let's move on. Earlier, I had mentioned there's a couple fighters here that, like Pennington, took some big beatings, and I think those two fighters are coming up in these next two fights. You have Alex Hernandez in this fight, and then the next fight you have Dan Hooker. Alex Hernandez took a beating at the hands of Donald Cerrone, and this is his return against Francisco Trinaldo. It's a tough fight for me. I really want to be out on Alex Hernandez at minus 200. I feel like at the end of this fight, we're going to say one of two things. Either minus 200 was a gift, or Alex Hernandez, had that big – who did he knock out? That was Beneil Dariush, right, in the first round?
Correct.
Had that big win against Dariush. Had kind of that grappling-based decision against OAM. And then Donald Cerrone put a clinic on him. Cerrone was like 7.4 on DraftKings or something like that. That was over at the Garden. That was the fight. I'm sitting there watching Donald Cerrone, Alex Hernandez. I bet Cerrone. I have Cerrone in a lot of my DK lineups. And I'm like going nuts right in front of the TV backstage at Madison Square Garden. And John Morgan is sitting at the first table talking with Saif Saud from the owner coach of MMA Fortis, being that this is in Texas. And he's like, Sayad's making fun of me, kind of, so you're a big Cerrone fan. I was like, I told him, I said, I have a bet on him on DK. I love them. So that's how I got talking to him. But I got to take Hernandez here. I mean, he's the younger fighter. I know Trinaldo has that he has his style, right? He likes to strike with power. The way I look at Francisco Trinaldo, if you try to strike with him low volume, he can get the better of the strikes. If you pick up the pace a little bit, I think he struggles a little bit with that pace. And especially at his age at this point, if Hernandez can get him deep into round two, I think he can finish him at this point. I know his kickboxing is solid, very technical, but I just don't see Hernandez losing this fight at this point. I think if anything, that Cerrone fight got him remotivated. But that's the way that I'm going to look at this fight. Ty, why don't you tell us what you think here? Are you on Hernandez?
Yeah, I'm on Hernandez a lot. And minus 200, I think that he's a great play. I think the Cerrone loss was very humbling for him. He does have the tools. That being said, I was big on Cerrone on that fight. I thought that he was kind of getting ahead of himself, and his ego was a little bit too much. Now I think that he's going to be a little bit more humbled and take a different approach. He's still going to have the fast-paced approach, but I think that he's going to be a little bit more or less ego-driven. And I think that's going to really, really pay dividends in this fight, because he could push the pace, take it to Trinaldo in spots, and kind of just wear Trinaldo out, because Trinaldo gasses towards as the fight goes on. And I kind of think he's going to have a decision win here. I think that he's not going to go super hard for the finish, knowing that Trinaldo could be dangerous. And, I mean, at least that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping for his career development that happens. But this fight will kind of tell a lot to where his mindset is.
So, CG, who did you bet here, buddy?
Hernandez. So I just watched Hernandez's open workout, and he was interviewed after, and Ty's right. He is much more humble. I mean, that kid was such a cocky prick going into the Cerrone fight. It was nice watching the old man silence his ass. But you look at Hernandez, he has better output, more takedown upside. He has 2.5 takedowns per fight going against Trinaldo's 63% takedown defense. And you guys have already alluded to it. Trinaldo definitely fades towards the end of the fight. But one thing that does concern me about Trinaldo, and I said it before Cerrone and Hernandez fought, I said if Cerrone wants to nullify Hernandez's takedowns, he needs to utilize the tie knees, the up knees, and that's exactly what he did. And Trinaldo actually finished Dunham in his last fight using that same technique. So that does concern me a little bit. But then again, Cerrone's timing with those knees were just freaking perfect. So, but hopefully Hernandez was able to learn from his mistakes, and I think he's definitely got a future at 155. I like Hernandez a lot in this fight. I really do. But I'll tell you what, last time I bet against a fighter that was in his 40s, It didn't turn out very well, did it, Ty?
I mean, I tried to tell you before the fight.
It didn't turn out so well. So
the way that I seen that fight, if I was on the podcast, I think maybe you would have changed your mind.
or
because
maybe just decreased my exposure.
Well, I mean, like the analysis that I gave on the quant edge for that is that Simone was going to try to get the fight to the ground. Faber was a better wrestler than him. Faber has better stand-up, and you're getting plus money in a hometown, in his hometown. And it's not just any hometown. It's Uriah Faber pretty much owns the city of Sacramento. And so, like, when you say, like, oh, this is the fighter's hometown, as soon as California Love starts playing, the arena shakes from the time that song hits until the end of the fight. And it's an experience. I've been at hundreds of fights. It's an experience being at a Uriah Faber fight that is unparalleled in any fight.
I heard people saying that, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's comparable to if Conor fought in Ireland, to be honest. And,
Oh, damn.
No, and I like, it sounds like I'm joking about that, but it's really not. Like, the building shakes. Like, the whole week of the fight, Sacramento just goes crazy for Uriah. And that's what I was trying to tell you guys in the text. Like, like, you're getting plus 310 on him. Like, I mean, Ricky Simone is not that good of a fighter to be plus 310. Uriah's still been active in grappling matches. And he's been training on the daily. It's not like he's been taking time off. And seeing him around the city and stuff, he could be 41 years old. He acts like he's 20. And, I mean, he has more energy than me, and I'm 32. So, I mean, it's just a different animal. And that being said, if he fights Cejudo's going to beat the shit out of him.
Hopefully, I don't lose more money at the hands of a 40-year-old man this weekend. That's all I can say.
Listen, I'm betting Hernandez. I haven't yet, but I'm betting Hernandez. I'm putting him in my parlay. Yeah. CG, I'm going to throw this next fight to you because I'm going to save the Juan Adams fight for Ty. I'm interested to get his take on that one. But CG, you got Dan Hooker and James Vick, and again, you're talking about James Vick, who's been down on his luck more recently, and Dan Hooker, who. I mean, the beating that Barbosa put on him on his leg specifically, I don't even know how he was still walking around at the end of that fight. I think he took a decent amount of time off. I don't know if there's ever enough, time off when you take a beating like that. But Hooker is minus 140. Vick is plus 120. CG, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a good introduction. It would be completely fucking asinine to not take that Hooker beating into consideration when assessing this fight. I mean, that was brutal. Hooker's corner should have definitely stopped that fight. I mean, that was tough to watch. But with Vick too, I mean, I think his confidence is kind of shot too, right? I mean, he was so cocky going into that Gaethje fight, calling Gaethje the Homer Simpson of the UFC, and then just got flatlined in the first round. Then he fights Paul Felder, and Felder just did a number on his legs. And usually Vick is very cocky before every fight, very active on Twitter. And I haven't been hearing about him. So maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. But all I know is if these guys stand and go toe-to-toe, I think Vick is the better boxer if he can keep the fight at range, which he's typically good at. But, you look at his last 3 losses, or his only 3 losses, really. Beneil Dariush, whether you like Dariush or not, I know he's got chin issues. He's a top 10 talent, regardless as to whether or not he's in the top 10. He really is. Gaethje, top 10. And I think Felder right now is ranked in the top 10. So he only loses to upper echelon competitors. And I don't think Dan Hooker's there yet. And another thing about Dan Hooker, you look at a lot of his knockouts. Ross Pearson came in aggressively. Hooker caught him with the up knee. Same thing with Jim Miller. Miller came in aggressively, caught Miller with the up knee. Gilbert Burns came in aggressively, and Hooker was able to counter. That's not really Vick's style. I mean, Vick is more of a cerebral, methodical fighter. If he can keep the fight at range, make it a boxing match, not a slugfest, then I think that Vick should squeak out a striking-based decision. So I like James Vick at dog odds.
All right, Ty, what do you think here? James Vick, the one thing I will say, talking about hometown Sacramento with Uriah Faber, James Vick is from Texas. He's called the Texecutioner. And the other issue with Vick is he doesn't make weight very easy at all, that 155. So, Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, but is Vic really a fan favorite even in his hometown?
No, I mean most people probably have no idea who he is, but I'm just saying it is Texas.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really consider that too much in this fight. CG was saying that Vic is a better boxer. It's kind of a give and take because I think that Vic is a better defensive boxer, but I think Hooker is a better offensive striker. And, you can kind of take that for what it's worth. I really just don't know what's going to happen here. I think that Dan Hooker is the better fighter at this point in their career. I'm really not confident enough to lay the money on it. I think this is going to be a really good fight, though. It's going to be pretty high level striking.
So Vic was actually a Golden Gloves boxer back in Texas, I believe, and I think he's actually 8-0 fighting in Texas.
Is it?
I believe so. Let me confirm that.
I mean, but he's not Uriah Faber in Sacramento. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, take it for what it's worth. But
I mean, Uriah had a fight with 2 broken hands in Sacramento and still went the distance.
bro, your fanboy, flavor for Uriah Faber really worked out for you last week. That's all I'm going to tell you.
No, I mean, that was actually like legit analysis. Like you're having a wrestler.
It was. I agree.
You're having a wrestler fight against the college wrestling coach at UC Davis, and I mean, one guy has hands, one doesn't.
Well, listen, I want to know who has hands for this next fight, Ty, because that's a perfect lead-in to Juan Adams and Greg Hardy.
What's your pick?
On that last fight, I actually do like Dan Hooker. I have him in my DraftKings lineup right now, my cash lineup.
Really?
I think it's going to go to decision, personally, and I think Dan Hooker is going to be able to get the best of Vic.
Are you guys concerned about Vic's chin after that?
I am. Yeah, I'm definitely concerned.
Hooker is a guy that could definitely test that.
Yeah,
and not for nothing, but Hooker. I don't think Hooker actually went down, right? Didn't he get stopped on the feet versus Barbosa?
I think so.
He didn't get knocked. I think it was a body shot, right? It was a body shot, and then the ref finally stopped it. Should have been stopped way before, though.
No, I do agree with that. But I've been waiting this whole card to hear Ty's breakdown of Juan Adams and Greg Hardy, to be honest with you. So, Ty, I got nothing else to say. I just want to hear you talk about this.
All right. So, non-bias, this is a huge step up for Greg Hardy. Juan Adams is by far better than Crowder and Smoliakov. And I actually think that Greg Hardy's a step down in competition for hold on, I'm a little bit sick. But for Adams, I think that he's a little bit step down in competition. I'm interested to see how this fight goes because I think Greg Hardy has about a 1.5-minute window to execute. If he could execute his game plan in that 1.5-minute window by knocking Adams out, that's pretty much what his time is limited to. And one thing that concerns me is Juan Adams does get hit a lot. We've seen that in some of his last fights. So Hardy could test that chin. But I think the longer this fight goes, Juan Adams is going to be able to execute his wrestling. What I'm hoping happens is that Adams comes in, shoots a takedown, takes Hardy down, and just smashes him. That's the bias in me talking. What I think is going to happen is he's going to try to mix it up with him on the feet for a little bit, which could be not so great. I think the smarter play is taking Juan Adams. But really, this is just what's going to happen in the first minute or two of this fight, and that's really where this fight lies. Because if it goes longer than that, Juan Adams shouldn't have a problem.
All right, CG. So I know that you and I have had this conversation previously, and the thing that drives us nuts with Juan Adams is how he squares up to punch. And again, he walks forward and squares up to punch. And if he does that to Greg Hardy, I think he's going to get knocked out. That's what I think is going to happen. And Ty, you kind of alluded to it. If he tries to strike with Greg Hardy, he's giving him a chance, right? That's the only chance Greg Hardy has. If you try to strike with him, Greg Hardy can, lean back on his back foot and just unleash a right hand. I totally agree. I think the fight starts the minute Juan Adams engages. I don't think Greg Hardy is going to engage. It may take them 30 seconds to a minute to actually engage. Juan Adams can say all he wants. I don't think he's going to run right at Greg Hardy in the first 10 seconds of this fight. If he does, you're playing into Hardy's hands. So let's just say it goes 30 seconds to a minute. I think from that point, Hardy has about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to counter and knock Adams out. If Adams squares up his hips, he is very hittable. Arjun Bowler was able to connect with him a little bit. And if Hardy connects with him, he's going to knock him out. And I'm going to play Hardy in GPPs, and I'm probably fading Adams in DraftKings altogether. I'm not fighting, but I love this fight to finish.
Did you see the thing that somebody, maybe it was you actually, sent it on our Instagram chat? The Greg Hardy running 2 miles and talking about how good cardio is.
Yeah.
I mean, like 2 miles, that shit's not fight training. Like, I don't know. He was bragging about how good his cardio is after running 2 miles. He didn't post the time, didn't post anything. Like, I run 3 miles a day, and like I don't consider myself in fight shape. Like that's a whole different cardio. I just don't understand it. I think that Hardy's a little bit underestimating Adams.
But again, and CG brought up this point, and then CG, I'll throw it right to you. But Juan Adams, I sent CG the interview. I don't know if you watched it or not.
I did.
He was on James Lynch, and that interview annoyed me like you couldn't believe, because everything that he had told us in the interview with us, and he had told, I think it was James Lynch the week before the last fight, he basically admitted was all nonsense. You know, he said Arjun Bula wouldn't take him down. He said that he's training a whole lot better. His weight cuts are better. You know, he talked about eating all this stuff after everyone makes fun of him. He posts online how he eats all these Twinkies and Ho-Hos and whatever else he eats after. And again, that's just you. And then the next day, you're about to have a professional cage fight with somebody else trying to knock your head off. I feel like he sabotaged himself in that Buyula fight. That's what I feel like at this point. But CG, what do you think?
So yeah, it's going to be one of two outcomes, right? Hardy knocks him out, or Adams gets him down and lays on him and potentially scores a ground and pound knockout, TKO, right? So I think those are the two likely outcomes. I'm betting on Hardy. So watching Juan Adams, his striking is so bad. Last week I talked about Darren Elkins being the most pathetic striker at 145. Well, Juan Adams has the worst striking in the heavyweight division. It is so piss poor. He was getting outstruck by Arjun Bowler, who's like 5'11", for Christ's sake. I mean, if he goes toe-to-toe and starts throwing with Hardy, he's getting knocked the fuck out. So I like Greg Hardy. I'm completely fading Juan Adams. Watching Juan Adams fight Bueller in his last fight was just so frustrating. And like Steve alluded to already, it just doesn't seem like he takes it seriously. Like, this guy's got a lot of raw potential. He's 6'5". He cuts to make 265. He has an 81-inch reach, but yet he's sitting his fat ass on his couch eating Twinkies. You know, he's on Twitter all day. Like, come on, man. Get your mind right. Get your ass motivated. You could be a monster, but, you know, I just feel like he's just wasting his potential. Greg Hardy, I think, has a more realistic, definitive path to victory, and I like Greg Hardy inside the distance. I like Greg Hardy by knockout, and yeah, I have a lot of money on this fight, so I like Hardy for sure.
I think if you're going to bet on this fight and you're backing Hardy, the smart move is to take him via knockout at plus 150, because I think really that's his only path to victory.
I agree.
There's no sense getting the extra juice when he pretty much has that window of ending this fight via KO, TKO. He's not going to win a decision. If it goes to decision, it's because shit's not going right in for the fight for him.
Yeah, and Juan Adams is a friend of the podcast. He's been on Brews and Bets before. You know, good dude. He could be really good. It doesn't seem like the desire's there.
The positives though for him after the last fight, he went, I forget where he went. He went overseas somewhere to train jiu-jitsu. Whether that's to help him get back up if he gets taken down, whether it's to be effective on the ground. I know that Hardy's not going to take him down, so it's a different kind of animal in this fight.
I
But
heard his weight's down too. I want to say he cut from 305 to make 265.
yeah,
He said that he was walking at like 285 right now. So.
yeah. He last time I talked to him, he said that he wasn't going to let his weight get above 285 this time, which that might be better for his cardio.
Yeah.
He might not be as drained because I mean, you hear a 265-pound guy cutting, you're like, oh, how could he be drained? But still, 40 pounds is 40 pounds. Prior to
100%. Yeah.
One more thing that needs to be brought up. Let's be honest. Dana White wants to push Greg Hardy, right? Greg Hardy's a name. Why would he put him in a position to lose?
I actually think that he wouldn't mind pushing either one of these guys, to be honest.
I mean,
Greg Hardy's going to have the name value. Juan Adams, yeah, he lost to Arjun Bhullar, but Arjun Bhullar is moving his way up the ranks also. And I mean, Juan Adams was the heavyweight that came from his Contender Series, which is his name brand show. Like, if you look at the Contender Series, there's no UFC labels on anything. They're just fighting for a UFC contract. It's Dana White's show. So I think that he kind of wants to get those guys up. And I mean, I think that the way that Adams engages on social media, I think that there is money to be made on him by the UFC. So I don't necessarily read into the we want to push Greg Hardy thing. I think that he thinks that this fight is going to be a highlight reel stoppage by somebody. Who's that going to be? That's going to get the push.
I'm surprised he didn't wait to put this fight on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, me too. The only reason it's happening is because it's Houston, Texas versus Dallas, Texas.
Well, there's a couple things. Ty, I think you would agree. When we spoke to Juan Adams, he said that he was going to cut from 285 in the last fight and then didn't, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that kind of annoyed me when I heard on the James Lynn's podcast that I had sent to CG. The second thing here is when you look at these two guys, Juan Adams asked for this fight, right? He was going after Greg Hardy. If you ask Juan Adams, like, he was going after Greg Hardy for the better part of a year and a half at this point, looking for this fight, saying that Greg Hardy, is a fraud and all this other stuff, which he may be right. But I think that whether he went to train jiu-jitsu anywhere else, for whatever reason, if you're asking for this fight, I don't think he has any intention of using his wrestling. I think he has an intention of embarrassing Greg Hardy, knocking him out, and then using this as a stepping stone to the next fight, which is why, in my opinion, this is dangerous for Juan Adams. Because if you're going to do that, you're playing into the only path for victory for Greg Hardy. So, Ty, I agree with you. Hardy, inside the distance, is plus 135. Hardy, by knockout, you said is what, plus 150? And if you even wanted to go Hardy wins in round one, which I think is the only round he can win in, is plus 275. So those are three bets that, if depending on how risky you want it to be, those are bets that I would sign up for. I think I would probably go Hardy plus 275 and just call it a day.
Well,
I think this is going to finish.
Just going back to the weight cut stuff, Adams, I know, hired a nutritionist after the Bueller fight.
And he should have, right? He should have had one before.
Yeah, he definitely should have. But that being said, if you want to get crazy, knowing that Adams has trained jiu-jitsu, essentially for this fight, not really for this fight, but for his career, Adams via submission is plus 1375 right now.
Ooh, that's a nice hit right there.
And I actually don't mind that because I could see him getting the fight to the ground, and if Hardy gives up his back, he could sink in the choke. And that's actually not a bad price knowing that Adams is going to try to get this fight to the ground. He's probably going to want to make Hardy, suffer. But, if Hardy gives up his back, I think a choke is easy to sink in.
Hey, Ty, I know that's your boy, but his striking is bad. No
doubt. But this is going to be the biggest guy that Hardy's faced, and Hardy's used his power in all of his fights. He might not have the power advantage in this. Raw power, not striking power.
Right.
And so,
and not for nothing, like, Hardy's knockouts have looked impressive when he's knocked people out. But, he barely even hit Smoliakov in that last fight. Smoliakov kind of just took if he got hit, he just fell over.
And Crowder walks around at almost 100 pounds less than Juan Adams does, and Crowder had a pretty decent time grappling with him.
Yeah, and Crowder actually took some of Hardy's punches, right?
Yeah.
So
And I mean, Crowder was another Contender Series guy, but he's not nowhere close to the level that Adams is.
No.
I mean, I understand backing Hardy in this fight just because how bad Adams' striking has looked and the power that Hardy hits with. But really, this is like a whole nother level of competition up for Hardy, and people are treating it like this is just like, oh, another Greg Hardy fight. It's really not. There's levels to it, and Adams is a notch up. Hardy might be able to answer that, but right now the line is not indicating that it's a huge step up.
100%. The line isn't indicating at all, and that was what I was going to finish this with. I want Juan Adams to win. I just don't trust, after he basically lied in every interview about how serious he's taking these fights and all this other stuff.
Right.
So now you did it after, like you were trying, and I'm a teacher, right? So as a teacher, I always try to preach to my students, you can't prepare not to fail. You have to prepare to succeed. If you're preparing not to fail, you're trying to do the bare minimum to just get by. Like teacher talk, you give those little pep talks. And that's basically what I think Juan Adams was doing. He's trying to give the bare minimum to just get by. And that's not good enough if you're going to be a world-class athlete. Bro, we know Greg Hardy ran 2 miles last week, Ty. We know this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you also know as a teacher that if you have a student that is like that, if they fail, it's kind of a rude awakening for them. And then that kind of could teach them to get their shit together, which it seems like Adams is taking the steps to make amends for that. And I know that it could sound like bullshit, but
no, I 100%. I mean, he's got to figure it out for himself, right? We're gonna know after this fight.
And in reality, this is a 50-50 fight. There's reasons to like both guys. It's just who you back. And one thing that CG said earlier was that he was completely fading Juan Adams. I think that could be a mistake because right now they're both mid-level price range on DraftKings. Somebody's getting a finish.
So I have a slight hedge. So I'm not playing Juan Adams in DraftKings. Like I said, his last performance was so bad in my eyes. But my hedge is having the fight end inside the distance. So that's what I'm doing.
What'd you get it at?
Man, it wasn't
it's like minus 4 or something.
I got it at -3 something. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
Okay.
It went up. Did you see the inside the distance line for the fight that we're about to talk about for Walteros and Oleinik? Oh,
I haven't seen it. Oh, wow.
Yeah, fight doesn't go to decision, -610. That might be the biggest I've ever seen. So, yeah, I was going to parlay it with that until I saw it. Then I was like, ugh, I don't know.
But you know what? Depending on where you are, you can always go fight won't start round 3 at -291, and that's not terrible.
It goes down that much. Wow.
I was saying for
which fight?
That's for the Oleinik Harris fight, because I was going to say the last bet, if you really want something safe, fight won't start round 3 for Hardy Adams is -237.
Hey,
I don't think that starts round. I don't think either one starts round 3.
My man, good line.
So CG, why don't you give us some more breakdown on Oleinik and Harris? Go ahead.
Okay, so I think it's very similar to the last heavyweight fight that we talked about. If Oleinik gets it to the ground, I think Harris is tapping out, and he's tapping out quickly, just like he did with Verdum. But I think the more likely outcome is Harris stays at range and, is able to utilize his boxing. And I've always said this about Walt Harris. I think he has some of the most technical boxing at 265. His boxing's awesome. But, the problem with him is his takedown defense is 20%. And his striking output is just average. I would say below average at 2.9 strikes per minute. So, from a DraftKings perspective, I'm always hesitant. I played him a little bit against Spivak, and he was able to, knock him out in the first round. But before that, he fought Orlovsky and won a striking-based decision and only put up, 55 points. So, there's a lot of volatility with this fight. The thing that concerns me about Oleinik, and, people want to talk about grapplers and how, almost like takedowns have to be pretty. Takedowns don't have to be pretty. I mentioned this last week. Oleinik averages 2.7 takedowns per 15 minutes. His takedowns are hideous, but he finds a way to get you to the ground. And the thing about Oleinik that concerns me is look what he did against Junior Albini. He pretty much just grabbed him, pulled guard, and sunk in the Ezekiel choke. He could very easily do that with Walt Harris. So, this fight for me, I give a slight edge to Walt Harris, but I still had to hedge with Oleinik. It's a tough fight to call. Gun to my head, Harris probably knocks him out, but dangerous fight.
TG, is Junior Albini still a UFC fighter?
Oh, you had to throw that in there, huh? You prick. Hey, how's your stomach doing? Do you have to take a shit yet?
No, I'm good. I'm actually going to get some more water. Ty, before CG gets us demonetized, what do you think here?
Man, I really have no breakdown on this. If it goes to the ground, Oleinik's going to win. Yeah. Stays up, Harris will win.
I mean, that's a breakdown. That's as basic as it gets, and I totally agree. It's so basic, right?
I'm not a fan of either one of these fighters.
Yeah, me neither.
This is another fight I'm not really excited for. I know CG says that Harris is so good at boxing. I think he's terrible everywhere. I mean, not a knock on your analysis. I just don't like watching him. I think
his box. I mean, for a big man, he's got good footwork. He's got good fundamental punches. He's got fast hands for a big man.
He has fast hands. The only thing why I don't
think he's a great heavyweight fighter. I mean,
yeah,
I think he's always going to be mid-tier. Like Verdum took him down, and before Verdum even sunk in the armbar, he was like tapping out. He was looking for a way out. But I mean, his boxing is pretty solid.
Yeah, no doubt. My only knock on his stand-up is sometimes he does swing a little bit wild, and I mean he throws kind of haymakers. But his boxing definitely is on point. He's just a little bit reckless. He doesn't really have to worry about that in this fight. Oleinik's just going to be looking for the takedown. If Oleinik comes forward and tries to trade, he's going to piece Oleinik up, and it's not going to go well for him. So, I mean, I'm kind of siding with Harris in this fight. Don't really give a shit who wins.
So, main event time, fellas. And I'm just going to give my bet, and I think it's pretty straightforward for the most part. Who do you think that Rafael dos Anjos is going to be able to, contend with Leon Edwards, wrestling and takedowns? And in my opinion, I think he is. I think this is going to play out very similarly to the Kevin Lee fight. I think that Leon Edwards may have a little bit of success early in the fight with a takedown here or there and pressing him up against the cage and trying to tire him out. But Leon Edwards is not Colby Covington. Leon Edwards is not Usman. I don't even think Leon Edwards is Kevin Lee, for that matter. But I think Dos Anjos is going to be able to get this fight where he wants it. If it does get to the ground, maybe create a scramble, because Edwards doesn't seem like the guy that really finishes on the ground, in my opinion. And I think Dos Anjos is going to be better on the feet. So I'm actually surprised that Leon Edwards is the favorite here. I know he's 17-3, but I'm all on Dos Anjos here. I'll be on him in DraftKings, and he's going to be he's definitely going to be one of my straight plays on this at plus money. But I'm betting Dos Anjos in this fight. So, Ty, go ahead. What do you think here?
So when you kept saying that Leon Edwards is not this and that, one thing you left out is Leon Edwards is not that good of a fighter.
Okay, I don't disagree with that either.
I think that everybody is on recency bias and they want him to be up at Masvidal's range after the backstage incident. Leon Edwards is not that good. That being said, how is Dos Anjos at this point in his career? We don't really know. But I think that there's a lot of hype behind Edwards, and he shouldn't be the favorite going into this fight because I just really don't think that he's that good of a fighter. He's a mid-level fighter. He's good for England cards, not really in the whole broad scheme of the UFC. I think that Dos Anjos is going to put a pressure on him. He's going to win rounds. I think that Dos Anjos is going to win a decision.
CG, what do you think? First of all, just tell us who is in your parlays. What did you put in your parlays?
I think you guys are nuts. He's not a good fighter. He's a good fighter. He's not overwhelming because I have a hard time with this guy because you look at his fight metrics and it's like, okay, 2.4 strikes landed per minute, 1.3 takedowns per fight. And then you're like, how in the hell does this guy win? He's a very difficult fighter to assess. But you look at his victories, he beat Gunnar Nelson, he beat Donald Cerrone, he beat Barberina, which doesn't look very impressive right now, but he also beat Vincente Luque. I just feel like he's one of those guys. I mean, he's very adaptive in the octagon. He's fundamentally sound. He's got a great fight IQ. This is definitely going to be his toughest test, but I like Leon Edwards. I really do. I mean, I think he can potentially have the wrestling advantage. RDA has 59% takedown defense. I just think that he's very good at suckering his opponents into his game. He gets them to do what he wants to do. And he can nullify a lot of the strengths of his opponents. And I think Edwards is going to have the slight edge in this fight. From a DraftKings perspective, I prefer RDA because you look at RDA, he had 71 points in a loss to Covington, while Edwards only scored 72 points in a win against Cerrone. But I just think that RDA is going to force Leon Edwards to fight at a higher pace, and I think he's going to be able to respond. We have no reason to believe that Edwards has cardio issues. So I think Edwards is very underrated. I think he's criminally underrated. So I think he's got a good skill set, and I think Leon Edwards is going to squeak out a decision.
All right, so CJ, let me ask you a few questions. You ready?
All righty, I'm ready. Shoot.
Leon Edwards or Robbie Lawler? Who wins?
Leon Edwards.
Ty, what do you think?
What's that?
Leon Edwards or Robbie Lawler? Who wins that fight, Ty?
I would probably side with Lawler.
Okay, Leon Edwards, Ponzinibbio. CG, what do you think?
Ponzinibbio.
Ty?
I agree.
All right, Anthony Pettis?
Oh, Edwards all day. I think
Ty?
Pettis is very overrated.
I really don't think that Edwards is a really good fighter. I think that Pettis would starch him.
Now, again, all I'm doing, like Stephen Thompson, Darren Till, these are all the guys ranked between Rafael Dos Anjos and Leon Edwards. All
Edwards
of those guys.
Edwards beats Darren Till. He does.
How would he beat him?
Grappling, yeah.
You think that he's powerful enough to get that fight to the ground?
I do, yeah. I do.
I think that Darren Till is such a tough.
Well, I think it doesn't matter because Darren Till, I just heard, is moving up to 185 less.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. He's to me, he's such a tough fighter to assess at 170 because his chin is so diminished because of the weight cut that I don't think he can actually be himself anymore at 170.
Well,
he's got to go to 180.
Let me just give you another stat. Leon Edwards is 0-1 in the United States.
Who do you lose to in the U.S.?
Kamaru Usman, but
Usman.
That was earlier in their careers. He hasn't had another UFC fight in the United States. Everything's been overseas.
That's noteworthy. Good narrative.
Listen, like I said, I'm on RDA, so I was very impressed against Kevin Lee. I picked him against Kevin Lee. I was very impressed.
With who? Dos Anjos?
With Dos Anjos, yeah. I mean, I picked him against Kevin Lee, and I mean, I think very highly of Kevin Lee, but I like Dos Anjos. Who's better, Kevin Lee or Leon Edwards?
Kevin Lee has the worst gas tank ever.
After about 2 rounds, though.
See, I mean, like with Leon Edwards, I just think that he's decent everywhere, but he's not all around a top contending fighter. And right now, he's taken a huge step up in competition. I know he's fought Gunnar Nelson. I don't think Gunnar Nelson now is anywhere near the Gunnar Nelson that we rated so highly. I mean, I just don't think Edwards is in that top tier caliber.
What about
fighter.
Luque? What about Luque?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
He's just I'm with you, man. Like I've been analyzing this fight to death, and when you watch Edwards, like he just forces his opponents to fight his style of fight. He's adaptive. He's got a good fight IQ. He's one of those guys. He's boring as shit to watch. And I think that's why a lot of people have a bias against him. But at the end of the day, he just gets the job done.
I think
it's not stylish at all.
The Luque fight too. I think that Luque hadn't hit his prime yet. I think he was like 24 years old when he fought him. I think he was a little bit younger, Luque. 24, maybe 25.
Luque did gas out in that fight.
Yeah, and I think that he didn't hit his prime. I don't think he was firing on all cylinders. So I understand what you're saying with Luque, but I do think that, for the most part, if that fight got run back again, I'm on Luque. You know what I mean?
I just feel like Leon Edwards does a lot of the little things. I mean, he held Donald Cerrone to 60 strikes in a 5-round fight. That's impressive.
Yeah, but again, that Donald Cerrone at 170, who he's bigger than him, right? He can grind them. I'm pretty sure that let me look at the numbers before I say something that I don't mean. Donald Cerrone is what? They list him as 6'1", 73-inch reach. All right, so he actually was bigger than Leon Edwards in that fight, right? Isn't Leon Edwards listed as 6 foot?
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm seeing 6'2" on Fight Metric. 6'2", 170 with the 74-inch reach.
Apology has him at 6 foot, but I don't know. I like Dos Anjos. I think he's going to be able to. And what's Dos Anjos, like 5'8"?
Yes, 5'8".
So he'll probably be able to, if he can stay low, fight off the takedown. If he can get it down to the ground, I don't know. I can't see picking Leon Edwards over Dos Anjos.
Leon Edwards only absorbs 1.8 strikes per minute. I'm telling you, man, he is fundamentally sound. Doesn't put himself in compromising positions. It might be a boring fight, but I think Edwards is going to score the decision. I really do.
See, the thing is, Edwards has only been the underdog twice in his career in the UFC. And that was versus Usman, which he lost the fight, and versus Tumenov when he got the stoppage in the 3rd round. And I have to go back and watch it, but I don't even know if he was winning the fight at that point when he got the stoppage. So it's kind of like he's been a product of some pretty good matchmaking, to be honest. But I don't know. I'm kind of on Dos Anjos. Edwards could prove me wrong though.
Yeah, pretty good matchmaking, and again, everything basically being over in Europe, right?
Yeah, he wanted the Masvidal fight. If Masvidal gets that fight versus him, Masvidal's going to piece him up. I don't really think that's even a contest.
Now, if he fought Masvidal, it would be after losing, a bigger fight.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? All right, we're ready to call it quits. CG, you got anything else going on this week?
No, nothing. There's 4 dogs I like on this
hot
card.
Dogs?
No, I leave the hot dogs for you, Steve. So I got 4 dogs and need to get back in the win column from a betting perspective. So I'm excited.
Hi, Slice. What else you got going on this week? Prize picks?
Yeah, I submitted the Prize Pick stuff last night. I think they should be up on the website. Submitted the Quant Edge stuff yesterday. That should be going on. And on Prize Picks, we're gonna try to get boxing going up this week. So you look out for that. I don't think anywhere else in the industry is offering boxing. I know Throwdown Fantasy used to, but they don't exist anymore. So the Manny Pacquiao fights this weekend. If you want some boxing action, I think there's going to be 6 fights going up. So check out Prize Picks for that. Little something unique in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll do my DraftKings show tomorrow. Again, I had too much going on yesterday, so we had to move it from Wednesday to Thursday. I'll put a little DraftKings show together for tomorrow, and that'll be the week. So good luck this week with your bets. CG, enjoy your hot dogs, brother.